Whether you're new to healing, or you just want an idea on what White Mage does, you've come to the right place. Welcome to Rainy's Basic Guide on White Mage. To give you a quick rundown of the job, White Mage is relatively straightforward compared to the other two healers. The challenge of playing White Mage lies in the task of dealing out as much damage as you possibly can without allowing any of your party members to die. Reason for this being, the White Mage possesses the highest personal DPS out of the three healers, but unlike the other two, it's unable to buff the damage output of its allies. If a mostly immobile caster, focused on healing allies as quickly as possible so that it may get back to dealing damage as quickly as possible, sounds like something you might like, then perhaps you'll enjoy White Mage. If not, however, you may find White Mage's polar opposite healer, the Astro, is more to your liking. Let's get into the abilities. I'll be mostly avoiding anything you could have learned from just reading your skills, whilst also trying to keep this as brief as I can to avoid making this video too long. I'll essentially be giving tips on just about every skill, starting with Stone is your primary single target damaging spell. You'll be using this from now until the end of time. Just cast it whenever your dot is already ticking away and nobody is in immediate need of healing. As you level up, Stone will progressively get stronger as it evolves into Stone 2, Stone 3, Stone 4, and finally Glare. Functionally, it'll stay almost entirely the same with each upgrade. Arrow is a dot that you'll want to keep on enemies at all times, so long as you think said enemies will survive long enough to take just about the full duration of the dot. It'll also get stronger, similarly to Stone, as it becomes Arrow 2, and then Dia. Spamming Holy can stun all surrounding enemies for a total of 7 seconds, meaning 7 seconds that the tank isn't getting attacked. Also do keep in mind that Holy should be used instead of Stone when fighting 2 or more enemies at a time, until you unlock Stone's final upgrade at level 72. At that point, you should only cast Holy on groups of 3 or more enemies. Assize, unlike the other 3 spells, is not on the global cooldown. It has massive damage potential when there's a lot of enemies, so try to use it as soon as it comes off cooldown as long as there is an enemy within its range. That being because its damage is much more valuable than its healing. Presence of Mind, just like Assize, use it as it comes off cooldown for the DPS it'll provide. And lastly, Afflatus Misery. Oh, I've just been informed. We're giving that its own segment, along with the other 2 Afflatus spells, so never mind for now. Anyways, that'll wrap up all of the damaging spells. Now to move on to heals. We're gonna start with Cure 2, because that's the heal many end up using the most. It's your strongest spammable heal, but it has a rather hefty MP cost, so do avoid spamming it too much in the earlier levels, as MP is kinda tight there. Cure 1 is your solution to the conundrum that is Cure 2's MP cost. Cure 1 is much weaker, but it's also super MP friendly, especially with the level 32 trait. More interestingly though, its short cast time allows it to function as a makeshift weave window if need be. As for regen, do make sure your tank is just about topped up on HP before applying regen during combat. I can't tell you how many tanks die every day due to White Mages giving them regen when they're on the verge of death and in need of a strong instant heal. Divine Benison should be used on the tank as soon as it comes off cooldown. Don't bother saving it only for tank busters, and of course, do try to weave it rather than clipping your GCD. Benediction can be used as a panic button, sure, but it can also be used as a method of keeping your tank alive without having to stop DPSing during easier pulls. Do not use Medica 2 if your party still has the heal over time effect from the last time you used it. Casting it before that effect has ended is a waste. Instead, you can use standard Medica, or if your party is missing a lot of HP and is also grouped up nicely, you can use the superior Cure 3. Now I left a few abilities out, but that's because many of them I feel are straightforward enough that there's not a whole lot I need to say about them. Now let's get on to talking about the Afflatus spells, and White Mage's job gauge. The reason I put so much focus on efficient healing to optimize personal damage when describing White Mage. Now how do you use them exactly? Well, by using either Afflatus Solus or Afflatus Rapture, which you'll unlock much later. Solus is exactly the same as Gear 2, except Solus has no cast time, and instead of having an MP cost, it will instead cost 1 Lily. Rapture is an AoE heal exactly the same as Medica 1, but just like Solus, it has no cast time and costs a Lily instead of MP. Now there's one more Afflatus spell. Unlocked at level 74 is Afflatus Misery. This is where things can get ever so slightly confusing. Misery requires an entirely new resource to cast. It will cost you 1 Blood Lily. 1 Blood Lily will be generated every time you use up 3 normal lilies. You can only hold up to 1 Blood Lily at a time though, so don't use Solus or Rapture until you used up your Blood Lily on Afflatus Misery. Now, to actually tell you what Afflatus Misery does. Afflatus Misery is an AoE damaging spell with a potency of 900. Its potency will be reduced by 10% for each subsequent target it hits after the first, until it's been reduced all the way down to 50%. Now, here's some information you'll need to know in order to use Misery properly. In order to cast Misery, you'll need to use up 3 lilies and then actually cast Misery itself. That means you're committing 4 GCDs to casting Misery, which in a single target encounter will result in 900 potency. If you were to instead cast Glare 4 times in a row, you would deal a total of 1200 potency over the course of 4 GCDs. So simply put, that means that if damage is your only concern, then spamming out lilies just to get as many Misery casts as you can will result in less damage dealt than just spamming Glare. Doing that same thing against multiple enemies is an entirely different story, however, as that can be a massive damage boost. There's a lot more that can be said about the Afflatus spells and their optimal usage, and while I'd love to talk more about that, it would just simply take too long. I do have an older video on that same subject, but personally I think that video could have been a lot better and could perhaps use an update, so perhaps I'll do that in the future. For now though, if you've still a desire to learn more, then head on over to the Balance Discord and check out the White Mage Questions channel, where the wonderful people there can help you out. And of course, feel free to leave any questions in my comments as well. Hopefully this video hit a nice middle ground between being too simple or too confusing for a basic guide. I'd appreciate any feedback, and a special thanks to any of you who stuck through to the end. Farewell, and good luck on your adventures.